Professor Bernard Fonlon, in his book titled The Genuine Intellectual, highlighted that a university is not for the mindless mob, but for the talent. He went further in stating that a university without research infrastructures, library, without a good laboratory, something that provokes the students to do research is more of a glorified. It's common for us in Cameroon to get the word entrepreneur and also professionalism and higher institutionalism amongst others. The questions many are asking is that with the numerous entrepreneurial university, professional institution, Cameroon's unemployment rate is still very high, job creation rate is still very low, and so many Sunday to all those of you who are watching us. We understand that you were expecting the program to be at 12 noon, but unfortunately, because of some other programs which is coming up, we are forced to take the program exceptionally today at this particular time. So we are in the studio here with personalities whom we've invited who are key stakeholders when it concerns higher education. And also we are here in the studio with Dr. Ako John Ako of the Institute University of the Guinea. Dr. Ako John Ako, you're welcome and happy Sunday.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. Once more, we are talking sensitive issues, education, university training and entrepreneurship, the new course which has been included today in most academic programs, starting even from secondary schools, and others in other schools is being taught at the primary. But the level at which Cameroonians are even aware of the new changes, we don't even know whether the state machinery is informed that Cameroonians are not aware of the present changes in both universities, secondary schools, and even primary schools. People still think that nature study that was studied 10 years, 50 years ago is still the course being taught in school. Nobody is even aware that environmental management and environmental protection has become a course to replace nature study. Likewise, entrepreneurship or business creation, which has now been named differently according to the various levels. So you call it entrepreneurship more in secondary schools and business creation in the universities. To what extent this is going to change the new thought about Cameroonian mindset, if noticed in more of the West African countries, that it was a course included to give students that readiness to confront the professional world, readiness to be self-reliant, readiness to be self-financially buoyant, and that a lot of other issues need to be taken in consideration. Within the Cameroonian standard, it is recent. Many other African countries will tell you that there is no nation, there is no emergence without business, there is no emergence without entrepreneurship, there is no emergence where people create for themselves rather than relying on others that have to employ them, that a salarized earner remains a servant to he who has created, and that those who create became the master, the boss, the bosses, and a lot of that. So we need to get into connection a lot of that. So thank you for this particular topic. It's sensitive in its milieu, and I think that Cameroonians will be informed by the end of this program, and equally thank my media prime for this great opportunity.
Professor Mark Akumbom, also someone deeply rooted in the academic milieu. Professor Mark Akumbom, you're welcome and happy Sunday.
Thank you very much. And I want to say good morning to the listeners and in fact the audience of my media prime, wheresoever they are right now. This Sunday is exceptional for the fact that we are discussing a topic that is so pertinent. A topic that is so pertinent towards the development and emergence of Cameroon. Why do I use that? I'm saying so because you can't actually see a nation emerge without professionals. And we have an unfortunate situation in Cameroon in that we have institutions which we claim to be professional institutions, which are all packed with glorified secondary school learners instead of professionals. It is unfortunate that we have in our professional institutions individuals who are actually lecturing, individuals who are actually supposed to be creating or forming these professionals who themselves are not professional. You can't imagine that you tell somebody to lecture on how to create a business when such an individual does not even have a store of his own, when he had never created anything. And so such has become the normal state of Cameroon, where we have individuals who lecture but do not have the capability to create professionals. And so we are hoping that by the end of our discussion of today, we will have discussed and explained to Cameroonians how to step out of the present quagmire in which we find ourselves in.
Thank you very much. Also, we are expecting one of our panelists who is just joining us in the studio. We'll be introducing him in a couple of minutes or so. I begin with you, Dr. Ako John Ako. When we go back to Professor Fellon, can we say that Professor Fellon was a prophet who had foretold the happenings of Cameroon's higher education family, which he mentioned that a university is not for the mindless mob but for the talented 10, and said a university without research facilities and facilities that provoke students to be critical thinkers is more of glorified secondary schools. How professional these days are our professional institutions?
I believe very strongly that these particular changes came in after the revision of the old program. I will call it the new program has been dubbed or named the Licence or Bachelor Master's Doctorate. The Licence Master Doctorate was introduced by the ministry to give a more meaning to education, which it equally realized that the university-based education in Cameroon in the past was more of theory, and that people tend on studying things like history, geography, and others read mathematics as a subject in university. That which means we're just training all these individuals into what? They're training them basically to become teachers of either private or public schools. This will mean equally that the mindset of many Cameroonians was not that tilted toward job creation. And if we have to get into the aspect of job creation, there was a need for that proximity between universities and the professional world. The professional world, which many have been called upon today to get into a lot of agreements. I'm telling you that the University Institute of the Gulf of Guinea had more than 450 economic agreement partnership with private companies, and then when we talk of state hospitals, when it comes to its medical training, we have more than 250 clinics or schools, teaching universities, and even public administrative hospital facilities, which equally give us a light that we are very proud in this one, because a lot of students who leave school have been recruited directly into some of those companies, and others go into such hospitals for their practical part. Others again still retain in that environment. It equally gives us an idea that the new program has started paying off. The new program has started paying off, but what is the problem is that those who made up the particular program in 2000 did not see into it that there is a need at the level of the Ministry of Higher Education, there is a need at the Ministry of Secondary Education to have an interrelay between the professional world and the universities, so that we are capable of knowing what the public demands, what the company needs, what the investors want. We are now training from what the ministry had provided, not knowing that there are equally new changes. Yes, in the past you could imagine that there was nothing like e-commerce marketing, there was nothing like e-commerce studies. Today Cameroonians are getting into e-commerce. E-commerce, yes, exactly that, which equally gives us an idea that the University Institute of Gulf of Guinea is also not left out. And this has permitted the university to create a lot of what we call startups for the students, and students are equally encouraged to create startups that has to do with e-learning and e-commerce, which means that at the university still we have free internet for our students that help them to host and permanently be in contact with those clients within the line. And telling innovations, meaning those who went to the university before the year 2000 wouldn't have had a training like e-marketing or e-learning. But today, this are stakes which we think employs more better, and people can equally work at home. But it has a lot of consequences, because even the government has not equally changed its laws to tell you how much those who work online should be paid.
Yeah,
how much charge should be.
I was about to come to that.
I'm just telling you, these are some of the weaknesses. The moment we change one law, we should know that there is a consequence on other laws.
It's a chain effect.
A chain effect. So the government need to adapt to the realities of our times.
Professor Akumbong, how professional are these professional institutions? You have you are in a higher educational family,
Yes.
and you are also in the entrepreneur family, and you see you wrote a book about entrepreneurship. And when we look at the current landscape now, can we say we have professional institutions in Cameroon with the low level of job creation?
You know, like Dr. Ako actually mentioned, we have a problem with the curriculum that is in place, and we have another issue with those whom we are trying to create to become professionals. The curriculum and the infrastructures in themselves do not actually fit professionals or fit to create professionals. I'm talking in relation to government institutions, because I'm seeing that there are some private institutions that are coming up that are struggling to close the gap. Most of these professional so-called institutions, for example, let's use National Polytechnic, which is supposed to actually produce engineers for the nation. You realize that the curriculum that was created to be used in National Polytechnic was created to actually form students who will become support staffs for the professionals who come from outside. So for the expatriates. And so we create students, we give them certificates, but we do not give them actually what makes them professionals. And so they have a certificate that shows that they are an engineer, but they are unable to actually do a road construction. We need somebody, an expatriate, who will guide them on how to follow that. And that becomes a problem. Why? Because we can't be claiming that we have a professional institution, and then we still keep on bringing expatriates to come work. We have road constructions that are happening presently in Cameroon, but none of these roads are actually done by our own professionals.
They are manœuvres.
Our professionals are manœuvres. That's the right word you have used. Our professionals are manœuvres, because that is the curriculum that is used to form them. They are created to be a support staff. They are not created to be the professional. And that is a problem. When we come also to what we call entrepreneurship, in one of my books, I made mention of the fact that it is preferable to bring businessmen, company directors, CEOs to come and lecture on entrepreneurship in our business management, our institutions, than to take a certified business manager without any professional proof, without any evidence of being a good manager, because he's there in a classroom, he's talking, but he owns nothing out there. And so I think it is preferable that we bring in these individuals who already know what they need to come and actually educate our children. Dr. Ako made mention of something, that collaboration between the higher education family and the universities. In fact, no, and the professional world. Because if you want to create a professional, the professional should have the realities of the field while still in class. Who can best give them that? It's not that lecturer who does not have a store, but who is teaching entrepreneurship.
Because the higher education family says you must have a master's degree, a PhD, before you are able to have access to a lecture room.
Good.
And most of the MSc and the PhD are people who have taken more of educational.
They have been in classroom all their lives and had never had one professional experience.
But they are training professionals.
But they are training professionals. So we have a problem that we do not have professionals training professionals, but we have unprofessional individuals trying to train professionals. So in this case, the question is, who are we going to create? So at the end of the day, you do not expect the so-called emergence, because I will tell you this, what makes a nation, I always define the growth of a nation in relation to its people. And if you want to look at the wealth of a nation, the wealth of a nation is actually defined based on the human resource. Let me say it. When you go use to the UN says if you want to know the wealth of a nation, they use 3 words. gross domestic
Product, GDP.
So they use that as the means. So when you look at the word gross domestic product, the word product to me means productivity. And productivity in this sense is not something that just happens. It comes from creative ingenuity, which implies that for you to become a productive individual, you need to be trained to have that capacity to produce.
Okay.
So most of our human resource have ended in the dimension of certification without any professionalism.
Okay. We have just been joined by Agboge, who is the marketing director of the Higher Institute of Professional Studies, HIPS. Thank you for joining us. Happy Sunday.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
We are talking about professionalism. You've gotten to listen to Dr. Akojon and also Professor Mark Akumbom, and we are looking at how professionals are professional institutions, because Professor Mark just cited that we have people who are training professionals who are not professionals and expecting to use this profession, expecting the professional they are training to come and be professionals.
Okay, to begin with, it is my honor to be here today to talk about this very important issue that we are facing. I'd like to begin by first of all introducing myself and HIPS as the Higher Institute of Professional Studies. It's an institution in Boya that trains professionals in different fields, in business field, medical field, and technology field. We do offer varieties of professional business programs and other professional programs. I am so much excited to be here to have him participate in this very wonderful talk about professionalism, because it is a cry that has been consistent in our context for some time now, and it really needs to be addressed. If you look at it in the area of what Doctor has said and my brother here, I am happy because they have seen into a contextual fact and giving possible solutions on what actually has to be done for credible professionalism to grow within our context. Yes, it is clear that in our context today, people who are not professionals run around, to train so-called students who want to become professional, and it's a big cry. I see this as a problem because at the end of the day, when the student, if I may say the person pursuing professional education finish with the course or the course line, you find out that, or you realize that it becomes a trouble. Instead of adding to solve the solution of our context in terms of professionalism, they turn out to be something else and be a nugget to the society.
And asking the head of state to create jobs.
It's appalling, if I may say. It has been a cry anyway, but I'm happy because when institutions that are still credible, because all hope is not lost, institutions that are credible, that have professionals to be able to train students, actually have to rise up, and it is a time for us to rise up and do the right thing to contribute to nation building, because our people really needs it, the students out there really needs it. And then I want to address it also in the point that, the aspect of professionalism is a quality that must gain ground in the entire community, for that community to move from one level to another. It is not all about attaining academic degree, but it is also a prefix of training people who can contribute to the world, contribute to the economy for the betterment of everybody. And so my brother spoke about the aspect of training entrepreneurs who will come in to contribute to mitigate the aspect of job employment in the community. Is a very important factor, and it is required that people, or CEOs of companies, business idealists, people who have the mind to pursue or to create businesses, have to come up in that. One of the aspects, if I may go to that point, is that you see that some of these problems too might arise as a result of entrepreneurs who are already in the field causing impact, do not feel the need to come into the community or into some of these institutions to be able to pass on that knowledge that they have received, and it's a problem. So they have to rise up and then help the population as a whole, help these young students, these students who are aspiring to become great professionals, great entrepreneurs, and then trigger them to and give them the tactics and the steps on how to, become professionals and entrepreneurs in different areas of life. It is a need be in our contextual factor, if I may say. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ako John. We've had all kinds of appellations, Institute Superior, University of Polytechnic, and all this like that. But when we come down to the field and look at maybe the higher educational family is not helping matters, because like Professor Akumom said, nobody have asked someone like Ndawara, who is a successful businessman, to take some of these professional courses and tell the business Fosso Victor, so successful businessmen who have gone through these challenges, to come and explain their situation. Secondly, in terms of the engineering field, we have the same these universities, but we have, when it comes to digging of boreholes, we still go for Chinese companies and we still go for foreign companies to give us boreholes. Is there a problem? Is that not a problem? Because the higher education says you must have a PhD and a master's before you even have some few courses at the university and professional institutions.
Yeah, one of the things too, maybe I never wanted to cut off with Professor Mark Anthony, is that the new program has given room for academic centers to bring in highly qualified practitioners. Highly qualified practitioners means equally that education should be first part of you, then you become part of that teaching corps. Where we are, the University Institute of the Gulf of Guinea, we bring in a lot of professionals. If you are a corporate banker, you are free to make demands in IUG for you to teach. Those that we don't even have, there are some courses that are practically oriented. We go out searching for those qualified medical doctors to give those lectures in classroom. This has been done. What we were saying that the university program has not provided is that it has not given a leeway for a continuous research on what investors want. This is my problem, not on the part of teaching. Today, advocates, lawyers are teaching in university, teaching the course law to give the practical aspect of that particular course in between classrooms and the realities, the courts. So this is what is, when you go even to state universities, one of the things I wanted to conclude with Professor Mark Anthony is that the state universities by themselves are lacking. Now, the programs that have been created by the Ministry of Higher Education, which are made to be more professional, has happened now to be like it is a private or professional private universities worry, meaning a lot of private universities are into professionalism. The public or state universities are still in the theory-oriented academic programs, which means that they will start telling you that for them to run such a program, they will need to have. Always, we have the problem, the inertia of government to implement what they themselves have advocated. So we find maybe the university, like the University of the Gulf of Guinea, constructing its own hospitals and equipping its hospitals. Like people are telling you, it is very difficult that you go to a state university, you're unable to find a clean toilet, but that state university is training people on health and hygiene at the same time preaching hygiene and sanitation in school when they don't really practice it. We have engineers who have been trained on water, energy, and the rest, but you don't have a single tap in a university campus.
Yes.
It is really, really funny. But when you get to the private schools, I don't want maybe to say so, but you realize that in many private schools, those who operate the computer system are students trained from the schools. Meaning when you go to the IT room, you realize that the people recruiter working in the IT room were students that were trained from the same university institute. And they give the best of what they could because they know very well that they have a special relationship between the administration and themselves. It is part of university equally. University should learn to retain what it thinks is better. But when we go to the state university, it will be funny that a lot of what we have even trained had to leave the university again to look for a professional training out of the same university. That is the lapse when it comes, a lot of lapses within the public universities. The private institutions, we thank them equally that they are trying to fill the gap, and we need to go further. We need to go further in the sense that one of the worry again with Cameroonians is that a Cameroonian does not like what comes from home. Cameroonians consume more of products coming from abroad. This includes expatriates. We mean Several times, Cameroonian will go in for a foreigner to give you a borehole than somebody you have known very well that does the same job here in Cameroon. In your thought, is that a borehole dug by a Cameroonian will not provide you good water, and that one dug by a foreigner will give you. You just need to know that.
Is it not because of the fact that even the professional institutions have not given confidence to the people?
No, I said we are giving our best. Yes, just imagine I'm teaching the same course in a university, and the fact that they have brought one guy from France, you need to see how much they give me. As somebody teaching the same course with the same quarter of hours, I complete the same burden. And then when this guy comes with his wine scheme, you can imagine how much they pay him. They don't pay him in France CFA. He has negotiated his contract in euro and dollar. And the guy sleeps in a good hotel. He has a driver on his back until he ends his mission. Just imagine that. It gives an idea that really some people will tell us about the neo-colonial tendencies. When you cannot use what you produce and you keep on using what is coming from outside, at the same time you tell the citizens that you are running the best program. You have the best program in Cameroon, you have the best program in Africa, and this one. When we look behind you, we see that a lot of those links that make up your institution are people you pick from somewhere. Then the one of the case you start doubting is, who are you training these students for? If you cannot consume them, where are they going to be consumed? So we need first of all to have confidence in what we have. Then we start looking for where we lack competence from outside. This is what is killing our universities. They will tell you that the white book, when you get on the revision of the LMD program, the ministry make a lot of consultation abroad. There were French people around the Ministry of Higher Education to give us the type of education. And I tell you that we have failed. Okay. We have failed because we have read a lot of this online. Please, just 1 minute. I will tell you that when we talk of R&D, research and development, we don't develop abroad. We learn to develop our environment. Our environment are the immediate things we need. Our problems are not the problems of the French people. They are not the problems of the British. Here we are eating water, fufu, and arrow. There they are eating McDonald's. We need to see if we can package fufu, we can package
like Afro Brains is doing.
Exactly. These are the consumer-oriented mindset. What we have, we should learn to improve on it before looking for foreign products.
Professor Mark, he just ushered me to the question which I was about to ask you, that are our professional institutions training students to meet the cultural needs of our people, or training students to meet the colonialist needs of our people?
I want to use this statement. When it comes to research and development in Cameroon, we have a serious problem because we do not do research based on our environmental problems. Most of our researches are actually related to might be the certificate we want to attain. And most of the times you see a young man who is intending to actually get to a professional field, his mindset is out of Cameroon. He's looking at Europe. He's thinking on how to actually go do research in France in order to earn a certificate in Cameroon. Like I said, when it comes to research and development, your research should be geared towards the development of the environment in which you find yourself, not out of the environment. So when you are doing a research out of Cameroon for Cameroon, then it proves how you have already taken the wrong path. And so most of those whom actually introduce education to us never introduce education for our good. They introduce it for the purpose of assisting to build the white man's land. And when you ask me that question, the purpose of education that was brought to Africa was for colonial purposes.
Well, even the language, we are still using the normal language, English language. Whereas other nations in Africa, they have evolved. There are some are using Swahili.
So when you come to that, you realize that most of the problems we have in Africa are colonial in nature. Let's go back to look at what education actually means. Because education simply means to create a professional. Why do I say so? When you talk of education, the word educos actually means to bring out from within, which implies that education is supposed to be a means through which you inspire individuals to become creative and productive. But that is the opposite, because we are training people to memorize, not to become productive. So you give an individual, we have created the so-called LMD program, but the LMD program is not providing professionals. We are still giving certificates. The focus is that. So look at it. An individual who has been inspired through education is supposed to come out and become a job creator in the community, not depending on the government in order to live. But if you realize it, when our young people go to school in the name of professionals, they need to leave school, come sit again, start applying for jobs. Are you truly being formed to be a professional? Because if you are formed to be a professional, when you come out of that particular institution, the next thing you are supposed to start thinking is on how to establish a project. You might look for sponsorship. That's a different thing. So you create an opportunity where individuals who never had the opportunity to go to school like you can get jobs. Individuals who were never formed like you can get jobs. But that is the opposite in Cameroon, where you see professionals, doctors, trained in queues, carry placards on the streets because they are not being recruited.
But these are doctors who
have they are professionals. So the question we should ask is, what is the level of their professionalism? Because I think instead of carrying that placard, at times it is, I want to also say that the nation has created this quagmire in which we find ourselves.
The Matiku syndrome.
That's the word. They have created this particular issue because that is the way it has been from the onset, where you need a white collar job and people think that it is the government that is supposed to give them job security. Is that supposed to be true? No. Job security is not what you need.
Okay.
Any individual who has the opportunity to go to school should come out and become a professional. Meaning that you should be able to give back to your community. Meaning that after the schooling, what you possess inside is supposed to be used now to affect your community. But like in relation to your question, you realize that because the white man had his intention, he created an opportunity where individuals will be formed to depend on them. And today we have now brought it back to us.
Very briefly, very briefly. I don't want to maybe go against Prof, but I'm just saying that normally education and professionalism has been inspired by companies and enterprises.
True.
Enterprises have a right to get to a university, pay them a budget for research to be carried out in their favor.
True.
And so that is what gives them the latitude to improve on what they have.
I accept what you're saying.
So what we are saying here is that the colonizers brought the type of programs that were ready to serve their interests.
Yeah. Okay, so you will not blame them.
We
from a business
for their need.
Yes.
They created something. So if we have our needs now, we need to train the program that suits our demands.
Thank you.
Agbo, this professional institution, Professor Mark raised an issue where a lot of people who go to professional training, instead of coming to be, because when you go to professional institution means you are a job creator, you are not a job seeker. Now, majority of them tends to be more of job seekers than job creators. And should professional education begin only at the level of universities? Is it not? Should we not start from the high school level? Start changing their mindset from the primary. Start changing their mindset before they get to the university levels. They start seeing things differently.
You see, I want to thank Professor for his wonderful contribution. A lot has been said here about professional education. To me, when you talk about becoming a professional in a particular field, first of all, you have to understand that you're building professionalism in a particular skill. For instance, if you are, a builder, if you want to become a builder, and then you need a specific training in building to become a professional builder, if I may say. So now, when we begin to view in our context how professionals are built, it is a cry, because most of them don't even have knowledge, are not even told the value of the professional education that they are targeting. Most of them are literally confused. Most of them are not orientated on the true notion and true sense of what professional education is all about. Now, I believe that education, like Prof said, is the act of building capacity. Is the act of building capacity. Now, when you summarize or when you decide to target education to become a professional, I mean, to be trained as a professional, you should first of all understand that it is not all about going to sit there and learning nuggets, then you become a professional. No, because schooling only gets us literate, if I may say. It is investing in literature that creates our actual future. Now, that literature, in my own sense, is a skill that you have within you, the skill that you can produce out. Because before you were there, before everybody came, or before you have a particular skill, someone else has. So the meaning of true professional education, to me, is going to an environment, a conducive environment, where your skills, your capacity, your area of calling can be built. You become a professional in that area. It is not all about studying particular field to become aspiring job seekers in the future, but it is about building that skill capacity in you. Now, this has not been seen in most of the so-called professional institution around. So when you see a professional institution that does not focus only on teaching you in classroom, because education did not begin in the classroom and virtually does not end there. We understand from the history of education since from the 2300 BC to the, before Christ, how education, even though it started in Africa, has lost its value in Africa over time. So because it is very essential now for us Africans, or for us Cameroonians, to acquire deep enough knowledge to build that capacity in us that we can portray to contribute in our community, to contribute in our nation, and why not our continent and the world. It's very essential. Now, when you are going to school, if professional education did not start from the university, it is not supposed to start from there. If you are, there can be someone who is very talented in building, or I'll focus on building a house. From small, you see a child, or let me talk football, a child playing football from small, you see that this child is really talented, and you decide to divert the child's mind to study another thing, and out of his skill, out of his calling, his context of his future. So it is a big problem. Now, that child has to be monitored from that basic level. From gradually has to be monitored concretely, be well oriented, be advised, and be shown, supposed to be shown ways or where to put his feet on to become a professional in the area of his calling. Now, higher education professionalism helps to ground you on that skill that you already have, that skill that you started building from small. So I think I see professional education in that area.
And that's what you guys are doing.
Yes, in HIPS, we believe that good quality education does not begin from the classroom and virtually does not end there. It is for this reason that we have been able to organize various activities, social activities like the HIPS talent show. Now this HIPS talent, excuse me 1 minute.
Yes, just briefly.
Yes, this HIPS talent show,
get to Dr. Ako. Because
we believe in what students can produce out of them. This HIPS talent show allows students who are skilled in different areas of life. Some are good singers, some are dancers, some are chefs, idealists in different fields. Now we help them to be able to portray themselves in that institution and showcase their talent. Now we help to sponsor their talent, and they become, they are the most admired in the community. I think the professional education should extend to that level in our context.
Okay.
And
Dr. Ako John Ako, should we only take professional education to the university level? What are professional institutions doing themselves to create partnerships with high school, maybe go down to some of these high school and start embedding in them the mindset of professionalism, such that before they could get to the advanced level, they already know a career path, because most only get to know their career path after GC, and sometimes they're even confused.
Yeah, I would not like, it's like you have an idea of what IUG is doing. The University Institute of Gulf of Guinea, since after the 11th of February, launched a program, One Day, One Visit. One Day, One Visit is a program that we get to the high school concerned, especially those who are preparing to write the advanced level. We bring them to the university. They give them lectures on campus. They are giving projections on every domain. And at the end of the day, they give them the idea of what they intend to be or what they wish to do in the next few months if they have to knock the doors for either universities. But we are doing that, presenting to them a whole chunk of what we have already at the University Institute of Gulf of Guinea. On one day, one visit, if you pass on the campus of IUG from Monday to Friday, even Saturday, we get them there and we give them the idea about the future that they require in every domain they are doing in high school. I believe very strongly that it is positive, not only for high school like we're saying here. When you go a lot abroad, you realize that what we call video games are built by students in the universities, that they are built by students in secondary schools. If you want to play a game, they simply put a lot of other issues in front of you for you to build one for yourself. You don't go in checking or buying such video games online. Simply, we need to start, because there is equally that at early mindset, students are capable of grabbing whatever you tell them.
They are on here trained on out.
We are not even training a lot.
We are giving them
Bibles, and you can imagine that. Churches have become very free. Like when you see the examples in Rwanda today, Paul Kagame decided that for you to become a pastor, you need to get a certificate in evangelism. So you cannot just become a pastor because you have been called by heaven. You should first of all have it also training, which means it get back to the professional part, the professional part of theology. And a lot of those churches have been closed down, which we know equally that there are some people who call them scammers, others highway robbers that became pastor overnight because they said they have given their life to Christ. And so which means that you don't just become a pastor because you left prison yesterday, you become a pastor because you have been trained by a particular institution. I said it is part of professionalism, and this will help keep off a lot of clowns within the profession, because some people take urine, some people have gone as far as shaving others in church, some people even watch private parts in the name of baptism, and you see a lot of horrible things. If we want to stay, like people will tell you that countries like Nigeria pray more than Japan, but we are doubting why Japan has advanced more than Nigeria. If really God can help everybody, even China, and not even China, because China, they have a different kind of the person they believe in. They said it is Buddhism. So Buddhism, a physical sculpture that was believed centuries ago, that has been cleaning and helping people. So we believe on the gods of our fathers. So we have in Africa, we call them traditional, African traditional religion. So we believe on what my father told me, and so that the father that told him his own thing made him right, and this thing could work, and it works. Okay. So we visit when the bird drops poo on your head, on your forehead, you live in the house smiling that the day today is a better day. So just imagine that. A lot of us don't, we have to get, this question you're asking is very, very, very significant, and I believe other universities can do same. Okay. We can, why not? Even sponsor scholarship at the level of some secondary schools in fields you think you are wishing to promote.
Or give incubators programs.
That is what we are talking. Yeah. So you start building them from the secondary primary school, then you bring them over to your university. Okay. Scholarships are not only for people to go study abroad. We can give internal scholarship and thank you people from best secondary school.
We are out of time. Your last word before we go.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to say that we have mentioned problems, but there are solutions. Like Dr. Ko actually mentioned, we need to start creating incubator programs from primary school, not even just from secondary school, which we start drilling children towards what they can become tomorrow. And if we have to do that, I also want to say that our vocational world, professional world, needs to get fully involved in education in order to transform the system and make it to become worthwhile in the future. You see, we are talking about what we are talking today about the unprofessional nature of professional schools, because most of the so-called professional schools do not have professionals training the so-called professionals who are to train, and that is a problem on itself. And so what do? We need to go back to bring in professionals. I think Dr. Akos mentioned that this has been given an opportunity, but what I want to say is
we're out of time.
In every aspect, you must not be academically inclined in order to become a part of a lecturing team. You should be an individual who has proven your worth. You must not necessarily have any educational base. But as long as you have proof that you have succeeded in that field, then you are needed in the academic world in order to empower.
Avo, your last word before we go.
Thank you very much. I'm happy again to having participated here. You see, the true value of professionalism has been outlined fully, which starts from the aspect of building confidence to students who are at the junior levels, if I may say, before they target higher levels of education, and to synthesize them to be able to make the right choice on what to do tomorrow. It is not all about going to school to seek jobs. It is about visualizing an aspect of you contributing to nation building. And I believe that all hope is not lost yet, because some very viable professional institutions are still available to help you build your capacity, build the skills that you need, help you to be recognized in your area of calling, and helps you to become a better professional. And we are always there for you in HIPS. We are inviting you to come around and learn more nuggets on how to be yourself. You that is writing A-levels, you that is writing any other exams, we are ready for you. We are welcoming you at any time. Thank you.
Dr. Akojon, your last word briefly before we go.
Yeah, I will, for now, I will wish that a lot of Cameroonians think of entrepreneurship as the way out in our country. Yeah, I said if Cameroon has to emerge, then we have to emerge with entrepreneurship. A business-oriented economy is an economy that is more sustainable than a job-seeking economy. So we need to get into that. And if you need that, I will tell you that without biting or hitting or eating or chewing off my words, that the University Institute of Gulf of Guinea gives the best opportunity for you. And we are waiting for this particular academic year. And why not 2022-2023 academic year?
Thank you very much, all those of you. Because of time constraint, today we streamlined the program for 1 hour exceptionally, and subsequently we will bring up this topic again, part 2, to look at how we can better the professional universities and professional milieu. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter. My name is Tah Mai Jarvis from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala Fengudong Bange. Kotobo Namusadi. Bye bye.